When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Skims or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/income.
Hey, it's John from GenXGrownUp, and we want your help to make this show even better. Go to GenXGrownUp.com/pod survey for a quick listener questionnaire. It only takes a few minutes and can make a huge impact on the show by telling us a bit about yourself, your listening habits, and your preferences. To show our appreciation for your time, we're giving away 2 $50 gift cards to lucky participants every single month during this campaign. So fire up that browser and head over to GenXGrownUp.com/pod survey right now to make your voice heard and for a chance to win.
Hi, I'm T2 and I support GenXGrownUp through Patreon because they're super gentle to my wires and boards. I think you should too. Go to patreon.com/GenXGrownUp.
No life, no fun. Don't you know that you're a grown-up?
GenXGrownUp is a YouTube channel, website, and audio podcast you're listening to right now. All made for and by people who love exploring media, games, tech, and toys of yesterday and today through the eyes of Gen Xers who refuse to grow up.
Your dinner cannot just be french fries. Basically, life sucks as a grown-up.
Welcome back, Gen X Grown Up podcast listener, to this Backtrack edition of the Gen X Grown Up podcast. I'm John. Joining me, as always, of course, my buddy Mo. Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. You know, it's not a show without George. Hey, George.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
It's going well. You know, in 1986, a lightning strike turned a military robot into one of the most lovable characters of the entire decade. In this Backtrack, we're plugging in to Short Circuit, a movie packed with Cold War anxiety, mall-era futurism, and a robot who just wanted more input. From Johnny Five to laser cannons and synth-heavy charm, we're revisiting why this weird little sci-fi comedy still has a pulse 40 years later. And George, you teased this Backtrack at the end of our last regular episode, and you might have cast some light aspersions on it that we dig deep in these Backtracks, and you're like, I don't know how deep we can dig into this movie necessarily.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not a super deep movie, but it's a charming movie. Yeah, I think we all just rewatched it. So we'll see how deep we can get into Short Circuit in just a few minutes. First, though, it's time for some fourth listener email. Fourth listener this time around is a name you're going to recognize, Uno Clay.
Oh, yeah.
Longtime listener and supporter, dropped us a line. The subject line of his email was Thunderdome. Okay. Uno Clay says, I recently watched the first 2 Mad Max movies, so naturally I ordered myself a cheap used copy of Thunderdome on Blu-ray. Oh shit, says George. Spoiler, I only made it about 30 minutes in. I've seen the movie many times before, but hadn't watched it in probably a decade. Unfortunately, Thunderdome was a film that I was shocked to find out is verifiably terrible. It's just genuinely awful. His words, by the way, I'm reading this. Make sure we're clear. It's genuinely awful, he says. The dialogue, the music, the acting, I was laughing out loud at the first big Tina Turner scene, and I realized, wow, this is definitively the worst Mad Max film, almost unwatchable.
I'm letting you finish. Let me get through the whole thing, and then we can talk.
Okay, all right. I see steam coming out of ears. I want to make sure. Okay, just finish. He goes on to say, I've always complained that the first 2/3 of the movie is great, and then the stuff with the kids is pretty unwatchable and saccharine, but I never knew how inadvertently camp and cheesy the first part is. The scoring alone was making me cringe. Ranking the movies, number 2, number 1, and number 3. So keep up the fun show, Uno Clay in Philly. All right, you're both biting your lip. Mo, go.
Okay. I will say, of the 3 original Road Warrior movie. This is probably my least favorite of the three, but I didn't think it was terrible. I thought, it was, I thought it was still a good movie. And as far as soundtrack, Tina Turner's soundtrack, I mean, I thought it was amazing soundtrack, if anything. And I thought the story was, it was a little, they said a little campy at some parts, but I have seen this movie fairly recently and I still really enjoyed it.
There you go. Okay. George, unleash. Release the Kraken.
I don't want to because he's a supporter.
Okay. Release the Kraken nicely.
Yeah, no, that's not possible with me. So I will say this. Number 2 is my favorite of the Mad Max films. Full stop. I don't care about the modern ones, the original ones. Okay. The second film, Road Warrior in America, Mad Max 2, everywhere else. Mm-hmm. That's the best of those films.
Yeah, probably.
Number 3 has far greater production value than any of the other original films. I don't give a shit what anybody else says.
We know that.
The sets, the costumes, while outlandish,
fit sort of.
Everything in that film production-wise was better. Now, I will admit, the kids are a little tedious at times. I could have done with 10 minutes less kids segment.
Yeah.
Okay.
The overall storyline is still fun. I love the fact that they bring back a character from the second film without telling you they're bringing back a character from the second film.
Right? Yeah.
I think that the world was opened up compared to the first 2 films. The first film sets a universe that is very intriguing, but in and of itself looks terrible by the standards of the third film. It does not look as good. The acting in the first film was far weaker than the acting in the other 2 films. Even if you say Tina Turner isn't an actress, I still think she pulled that role off.
I agree.
That all being said, when he said it's the worst of the Mad Max films, that's when I was really cringing because I'm like, you're going to tell me this is worse than the Tom what's-his-name bullshit film that I had to sit through?
Let me just poke the bear, George. I edited out some of this email. And actually, he included ranking the other ones as an aside, if you want to include the newer ones, and he still said this one was being dragged behind a go-kart on a chain like a dog. It's still the very last of all of them.
I mean, I get the reference. That's a clever reference from the first film. I get that. But still... No, Furiosa? No, fuck you. No.
Goodness. Okay. All right. Before George makes you demonetize this and stop being a patron.
Oh my God.
66% of us still love you, and we're so happy that you wrote in.
I still love him. I didn't say I didn't love him. I just don't like his opinion.
Okay. That's the thing. Too many people in the world think if you disagree, it means hate. We can disagree and still love. That's the great thing about it. Because we grew up in an era when just that rolls off our back and we're okay with that.
He can have his incorrect opinion and he's still
there you go.
Exactly.
You're totally welcome.
That's right. He has right to be wrong.
Thank you, Uno Clay. For writing in, tell us what you think about the show and about the films we covered in this show. Fourth listener, if you would like to subject yourself to abuse and write your email feature here on the show,
your opinion of the Mad Max movies.
Sure. Counterpoints welcome. It's drop dead easy. Just hit us up at podcast@GenXGrownUp.com. Read every single one, and most of them, like Uno Clay's, will eventually make this show. All right. With that good business in the rearview mirror, it's time to jump into this backtrack all about Short Circuit right after this. Stick around.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
You're listening to Gen X Grown Up. But if you have a friend who's not yet listening, why not? Tell them about us. They'll thank you later.
It's the ultimate soldier. It doesn't get happy, it doesn't get sad, it doesn't laugh at your jokes.
It is quite simply the most sophisticated robot on Earth.
At Nova Robotics, the future is in good hands.
You're doing real good. Just keep working on those last 2 bars.
Thanks to Dr. Newton Crosby.
Originally, I designed it as a marital aid.
But artificial intelligence has gotten too smart.
It's malfunctioning. It might not do anything.
But it could decide to blow away anything that moves, couldn't it?
Because $11 million worth of robot just hit the road.
Wow!
Number 5 is alive.
Welcome planet.
We just have to find number 5, get some answers.
Why don't you come on in my house?
And it's got a lot of living to do.
Whatever it takes to put that stupid contraption out of commission, that's what you do.
More input. More input.
They can seem quite lifelike, but they are still machines.
Number 5 is alive.
Nice software.
How it happens, who knows, but it has happened.
From the director of War Games.
They're gonna be after you. We gotta get out of here now.
Hey, he's alive!
Ali Sheedy, Steve Guttenberg, and number 5, Short Circuit.
We are featuring in this Backtrack episode a film that is now, as you're listening to this, just about 2 weeks ago, 40 years old.
Jeez.
Short Circuit was theatrically released in the U.S. and Canada May 9th, 1986 by TriStar Pictures. That era, mid-80s, 84, 85, 86, right in there, are some movies that it's almost like old TV. Watching it now, as we said, maybe not the depth that we might remember it was back then, still a cute and fun watch, and certainly a pivotal kind of film that everybody, like a touchstone, you remember. We saw that film. Speaking of which, I thought, as we often do with these sorts of episodes, talking about a particular thing from our youth, I want to do a little round table and touch on each one of us here and talk about what are your first memories of this film? When did you first see it? What are your, when you reflect on it, what do you think of it? Before we dive in and start peeling back the layers. Why don't we start with you, Mo?
Sure. I saw it. Let's see, that was 86. So, it was the summer, my first summer back from college. So I was finishing my freshman year. And me and my brother David pretty much spent the entire summer pretty much seeing every movie that came out. It was just our thing to do every weekend, or like twice a week. Sometimes we go see different movies. And this was one of the ones that was, since it came out in May, it must have been one of the early ones we saw, because that's right at the beginning of that summer season. So that's where I saw it. And I remember we saw it and we were like, that's all right.
That's all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want my $5 back, right? It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. How about you, George?
I'm sure that the first time I saw this film would have been a VHS rental. This probably wouldn't have been one that I would have gone and seen in the theater, because in 86, I would have just gotten my learner's permit.
Oh, yeah.
And
he was gone.
So, yeah, I would not have driven to see this film just based on the storyline and everything. Although I remember it being promoted more for the robot than the romantic comedy part of it. But I think I'm almost positive I would have saw this as a VHS film. And I just remember thinking when I watched it that I was far more captivated by the robot, which I'm sure was the intention of the editor, than I was by any of the human characters in the film.
I don't know. Ali Sheedy's never been much cuter than she was in this film, but okay, if you like the robot, you should do it.
Is she cute?
Yes, definitively. Just like we know what we know about Thunderdome, we know Ali Sheedy is cute.
I don't know if we know that.
I'm verifying for you. So so I'm sure, like Mo, I saw this. So with 86, so I didn't get my driver's license till 87, the last year, senior year. This is my junior year of high school. And it was a time when the only thing there was to do was to drive into town and see a movie in the evening. It's all there was, right? Because we weren't drinking party people. We would go to the arcade and the mall and the movies. That's what we did for fun. And I remember seeing this in the theater. And you mentioned seeing it on VHS, George. I know it was in the movie store, and it's one of the cover, like when he's reaching up on the hill, the lightning is hitting him. And I'm like, that cover is on every shelf of every movie store. And every time I shut my eyes and think of a VHS rental store. But in reality, I'm not sure if I ever rewatched it after seeing it in the theater. Not because I didn't like it, but because you said, Mo, it was fine. It was cute. And it wasn't like there was some deep stuff you had to reanalyze. Once you see it once, you know what the movie's about. There's only a couple of great quotes, and otherwise it's just a fun, lighthearted romp kind of a movie. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So in case you haven't seen it, Mo, why don't you share a quick synopsis of what this film is about?
Sure. I mean, it's, like I said, not a heavy movie, but it centers around this experimental military facility that creates these robots that basically we use for combat. One of them, number 5, gets struck by lightning. And because of that, it somehow gains sentience. It gains human-like intelligence. Of course, now that it's intelligent, the first thing he wants to do is escape. and
get off the military base.
Yeah, get the hell out of there. Meets Ali Sheedy. And basically, it's a movie about that robot sort of learning to be a person, I guess. I'm not trying to find a good way of putting it. But, and as I said, very lighthearted, very a little saccharine, I would say at points too. But again, that was the whole point of the movie.
Yep. Yeah, he kind of gains ethics.
I think you just used that word because it was in the letter from Uno Clay.
Oh yeah.
Hey, if the shoe fits.
I had it on my mind.
Yeah, it didn't do poorly at the box office either. I mean, $40.7 million against a $15 million budget.
That's good.
Obviously, we got a sequel. I'm not going to say we got a good sequel, but we got a sequel out of it that brought back at least two of the characters from the original film. It was solid. It did solid numbers. It was a success. And I think because of that, that's why they brought it to the VHS rental, where it did far larger than that $40.7 million box office. And that's the way everything was in the 80s. If it did moderately well in the theater, it was getting a VHS release to recoup even more money and make a bigger profit for those people. So yeah, good, solid financial film.
For a lot of studios, that was part of the model. It was no longer, I hope we make it up on the back end of the movie rental stores. They're planning on that. That's budgeted. They know that money's coming, which is why it hurt so much when that started to dry up when streaming happened. And anyway, what'd you say, a $15 million budget? Is that what you said it went?
Yep, 15 against 40 million box office.
That's a pretty good return.
Now, according to a commentary track on the DVD, the robot, number 5, we know him as Johnny 5. He didn't name himself that till like the very end, the last scene. But Johnny 5, number 5, whatever. He was the most expensive part of the film.
Sure.
And he's not just a robot. It required several different versions to be made based on what he needed to do.
Right.
Because they didn't, look, I hate to spoil it for you guys. There wasn't one robot that went around that did all the things you saw in the movie. Okay. There was actually a number of different top half, bottom half, trucks, arms, all those different things. Almost everything else in the film was pretty cheap. It allowed them to allocate the bulk of the budget to the robot, which is probably why it resonated with you, George, because they didn't scrimp on the robot. They scrimped on some other areas of the film. That's where the money went.
Okay. Surprisingly, it actually earned a couple of nominations from the Saturn Awards, which is all about science fiction and all that stuff. So maybe it was a light year. No, it wasn't a light year for science fiction. So, okay. So whatever reason, it got a bunch of nominations there. So didn't win any, but there again, like I said, it was a solid movie, like George said.
Yeah. I mean, it was a different kind of storyline. So I think that's probably why it was talked about for those awards. Plus, it was successful. And when it comes to sci-fi films, they weren't always successful.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Right. The film actually got its start after some producers of the film, they distributed an educational video about a robot to various colleges. Studying other films with a prominent robot cast like Star Wars, C-3PO and R2-D2 for inspiration, they decided to question human reactions to a living robot on the premise that no one would initially believe it was sentient. So, I mean, that's kind of the strangest way I've ever heard of a movie concept coming to be, but it doesn't feel odd to me in the middle of 1980s filmmaking. It feels exactly like something that would happen.
Yep. Yeah. So the robot, which if you haven't seen the movie, just if you don't want to see the movie, at least go look at the robot because his design is pretty iconic. I won't say like an R2-D2 or a 3PO, but his design is not like anything you've seen over and over and over. He's definitely kind of tank inspired. He's got this little triangle tread with a wheel that spins in the back, like he's some kind of a forklift. And then he's very like a humanoid on the top. He's got these arms and a big ET-like head and very expressive eyes, the two cameras and everything. It turns out the inspiration for the design, that iconic design of Johnny 5, came from Douglas Trumbull's Showscan short entitled Let's Go that had a robot named Pal, designed by Eric Allard. Steven Spielberg saw that short and told the director to go contact Allard for the robot construction in this film because it was such an interesting design.
Yeah. And actually, the design itself was done by Sid Mead, who did a lot of the artwork and visual designs for Blade Runner, which everyone knows is one of my favorite movies, and Tron. Yep. So again, they spent all the money on the robot, apparently.
There you go. That's where it all came from. Yep. No, we haven't talked about music yet, and it had a pretty standard score, but there was one song featured super prominently called Who's Johnny by El DeBarge. And at least twice it was in the film, once on the radio, once when he and Ali Sheedy's character first meet and they're kind of dancing around. And there was no soundtrack released at the time of this movie. But then, some years later, I think it was like 2004 or something, a soundtrack of the film was released with the score. That song was not present. There was no mention of El DeBarge, even though that was, I think they won awards off of that song. It was huge on the charts. And yet, when the real soundtrack for the film came out, they were snubbed. El DeBarge did not get featured at all, even though that was the
licensing
damn
stuff.
Oh, of course. Yeah, they couldn't get the agreement. Had it been released at the time, they'd already had the agreement baked in, but it was many years later. So,
well, I mean, when you watch the film, you watch all the way through the credits, and you see there's only 2 songs listed in the soundtrack.
I know.
There's El DeBarge and then his theme, and that's it. Like the stuff from Saturday Night Fever, which is what I wanted to talk about next, that's not even mentioned in there. But there's a sequence where Johnny Five is dancing while he's watching Saturday Night Fever on a little television. And he was imitating John Travolta's, iconic dance from that film. But that was done as an inside joke because Badham had also directed Saturday Night Fever. So this guy who honestly I had never heard of, I went and looked up some stuff on him. He directed quite a few known films. I just had never heard of his name because the films or the stars from those films always were more popular than he was. So
they eclipsed the director.
He got this movie and somebody decided to play a little joke on him and say, well, let's write a Saturday Night Fever reference into this. And he went along with it. I think we
get the license. We know a guy, right?
Yeah.
We can include it.
LinkedIn is pretty amazing at helping you grow your small business. We cannot make your email response time faster. We can help you sell, market, and hire in one place. We cannot help you find space for your 3 desk drinks. Why do you have 3? And while we can't help you find the perfect volume for your presentation video, LinkedIn can help you find the perfect audience for your business. Grow your small business on LinkedIn. Learn more at linkedin.com/smallbusiness.
We gather here tonight to bring women back to their rightful place.
The Testaments, a new Hulu original series from the executive producers of The Handmaid's Tale.
It's easier to accept a story than believe that the people around you are monsters.
The battle isn't over.
There comes a time when you have to take action, when you have to choose your own destiny.
Never quite as it seems.
Watch the new Hulu original series, The Testaments, streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply.
Be sure to subscribe to or follow Gen X Grown Up wherever you listen. And while you're there, rate and review the show too. It helps more than you know.
Last Saturday night,
You're doing real good.
in 500 theaters across America,
Yo.
capacity crowds laughed and cheered their way through special advance previews of Short Circuit. 93% said they loved it. An overwhelming majority said it was one of the best movies they'd ever seen. See for yourself. The new comedy adventure from the director of War Games.
He's alive!
Short Circuit. Rated PG. Starts Friday at a theater near you.
We ended the last segment talking about the director, John Badham, and I just wanted to mention that there was a cute little cameo. There's a place where Ali Sheedy's character, Stephanie, gets basically bushwhacked. Like they just ambush her at her door, wanting to talk to her about the robot being at her house and everything. And there's a cameraman on the news crew. That's Badham himself. He found a way to put himself into the movie. But this guy,
I like when they do that.
He's done quite a few things, not to mention the Saturday Night Fever that we talked about. He's a solid credentialed director who's worked for a lot of years in Hollywood. And I think he did a moderately successful job with this film. I know the storyline and everything, the whole script and everything went through a lot of different rewrites and changes and whatnot. I think he did okay with what he was left with. It's just funny to me that you had somebody like Spielberg trying to get involved by saying, hey, go find this person for this robot and everything. But we didn't get a Spielberg-like film out of this. No. I was, it was kind of sad when I learned that.
Yeah. They try to have the heart, but the heart was pretty superficial, as we said. It's not a deep movie. It's a robot movie.
It's artificial.
It's artificial. There you go. Sure.
and as George mentioned, Ali Sheedy, 80s movie, Ali Sheedy's in it. What do you think? Is Stephanie Speck. And she plays like this very kind of like idealistic veterinarian who very easily believes that.
I don't think she's a veterinarian.
Oh, she's not a veterinarian? Or she's just an animal person?
She's just an animal person who's rescuing all these down on their luck pets, dogs with 3 legs and
that's
everything.
Right. That's right.
I think she does catering because on the van it says parties catered and it bugged me because parties was misspelled. Right. Yeah. It bothered me the whole way through the movie.
I can see that bothering you. But of course her character was because she's like the idealistic one who readily believes he's intelligent. and like a person, like pretty much right off the bat.
At first, she thinks he's an alien.
Right. She thinks he's an alien. It's like, is that you? Or are you inside of a machine? Just your brains in a jar in there? It was very cute. Now, the other big name, of course, Steve Guttenberg. He plays Newton Crosby, who is the designer of these military robots. Now, he actually didn't want it. It's a common story, right? We've seen this a million times, the threads of it. Someone makes some incredible thing. It's the Oppenheimer story. Like, I want to make energy. Oh, it's going to be a bomb. You know, oh, I made these cool robots. We're going to use them as a military weapon, right? He very much doesn't want to have his inventions be used in the military. And I'd read somewhere that the character was supposed to be like an antisocial, unlikable kind of guy. And then they cast Steve Guttenberg, like just a guy whose face makes you smile. He was in 3 Men and a Baby and Police Academy films and comedies. He's so lovable.
Yeah.
How could you not like this guy? But you're supposed to not like him, like he's an awkward antisocial dude. But
they failed there.
That was one of the notes that Badham complained about later, was that Ali Sheedy and Steve Guttenberg were forced on him by the studio, and he had completely different actors in mind for those roles, and it would have been a completely different film.
I can see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So, you're talking about number 5 or Johnny 5. It was actually voiced by Tim Blaney, who actually was a really well-known puppeteer and did voices. Like he did the voice of Pug in Men in Black, the dog, little dog. He did the voice there.
Yeah.
You know, he was in Men in Black 2. He did puppeteering in like Team America.
He did the puppeteering in this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and this one as well. You know, like I said, I'm looking through it. His career is like still, you know, he went through even through as much as 2021. He was still working.
Yeah.
I appreciated learning that he was on set, as you said, George, doing the puppeteering, but doing the lines. So it felt more organic. Now, every movie has to go back and do some looping and some re-recording of stuff. But by and large, he was there. If he wasn't carrying the puppet or running the robot, he was there doing the lines with the actors so they could react and interact with Johnny Five, because the whole point was he's gaining sentience. You want to be able to relate to him. And if they're just talking to line, somebody just reads a dumb line. And I think it helped the actors to bring out what heart was possible from that script, to show, oh, there is somebody there I'm talking to, not just a machine I'm talking at.
Yeah, kind of like the new movie Hail Mary. The guy said that's why they think it worked well, is because the puppeteer was doing the voice.
The Rocky. Yeah.
And so they said that really helped.
So it's more organic.
Especially the way that Tim Blaney did the puppeteering in this film. It was one of the early examples of having the harness wrapped around his upper body and arms that would then translate the motion over to the robot in real time. So all of that upper body stuff was all done by him. And then somebody held a little remote control to do the tracks whenever it was the full robot in the different scenes. It was really cool.
Or to move his eyelids or whatever cool little details. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I always said there's no such thing as a bad puppet movie. So this counts. It's a puppet movie.
For me, I think one of the people who kind of stole most of the scenes that he was in was Fisher Stevens as Ben Jabatuya, or however you say, he was Crosby's assistant. The guy's not a natural Indian. He's actually Italian. And I knew him from a movie that was before this called The Flamingo Kid with Matt Dillon back in the day. He was one of Matt Dillon's friends in that film. But he has gone on to have a really solid career in Hollywood. Matter of fact, one of the last things he had done on television was he was a big integral part in the Blacklist series.
Oh, really?
He was one of the associates that ended up, I think his character betrayed James Spader's character, but good actor, really solid. I kind of wish I saw him in more stuff. And when I went back and rewatched his film, I remembered, oh yeah, that's Fisher Stevens. Holy shit. Because they had to do a whole bunch of stuff with him that just crazy to get him to be an Indian in this role.
Right. What you had mentioned that Badham said the studio forced certain actors on him. It wasn't his choice necessarily. And I read this little nugget. You probably knew this already. Stevens reports he was hired to play Ben. And when he was hired, he was not going to be an Indian.
That's right.
But then he was fired because Bronson Pinchot came along. And they're like, oh, we want him. And we want him to be like a Balky-esque foreign who has trouble pronouncing things or whatever. But then Pinchot got Perfect Strangers and had to bail on Short Circuit. They rehired Fisher Stevens and said, can you play an Indian character who has trouble with English? And so they actually dyed his hair. He had to wear makeup to look a little darker in order to do this.
Contacts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading about that, how both the actor and the director completely regret that decision.
Right.
Because, it was, the whitewashing, again, like playing, playing, like they couldn't find an Indian character or an Indian actor to play that role kind of thing. Obviously things are different, but also they had no intention of that at the beginning. It was just something that just sort of, it almost seems like it just sort of happened,
Right. It's like,
and they were like, fine, I'm working,
Okay,
I have a job.
There was an interview that I read about as well that's come out over the last like 15 years or so. And I think it was with Aziz Ansari. And he was talking to Fisher Stevens specifically about this role. And Aziz, or whoever it was that was interviewing him, said he wasn't mad at him for doing this role because he didn't try to profit off of it or do any, like he didn't do anything that was offensive with the role. Granted, the character did have a lot of quirks and the mispronunciations and the thing that I found endearing, this is where most of the heart came from Johnny Five, but part of the heart of this film came from the Fisher Stevens character to me. Whenever he would say a phrase incorrectly or twist the words around in a phrase or something like that, it just lended a little bit of levity in a segment that wasn't very funny before that. There were plenty of times when the segments were supposed to be funny, but they weren't until he came into the scene.
It wasn't Indian stereotyping. It was English as a second language stereotyping, in my opinion, which is what it was. There wasn't like, oh, Indians act and behave this way. It wasn't that necessarily, it was more of he's trying to pick up on the colloquialisms, I'm standing here beside myself with disbelief or something, those sorts of little things that were cute, like you said. And in fact, he has my favorite line in the movie that we'll talk about later, but we'll get to that. Let's see. Austin Pendleton as Dr. Howard Marner. So this is the guy, this is the dickhead. This is the guy that runs the military branch of
he's
things.
Not the jerk.
Everything until the very end, he has just a moment of uplift, but otherwise he's all about the profit. He doesn't care about the creative. We're in making money on military. We don't care what you think. Now, if you don't recognize the name Austin Pendleton, you might know him because I had to look him up going, where do I know this guy from?
Yep.
He was the stuttering defense attorney from My Cousin Vinny that got fired when he's like, I want this guy when Vinny shows up because he seemed okay. And then he got started in front of the jury and he's stammering around. It was terrible, but he's same actor and he's the same kind of Weasley guy in this movie too. You disagree? You don't think he's like that,
I
George?
disagree.
That's what I saw.
I mean,
okay.
No, so there are other dickheads in this film as far as characters are concerned. I don't think he was. I think he is a man trapped in between two realities. Number one, he really wants to do the right thing, but he's like forced into these situations by the senators and the military people that were at the beginning of the film that you kind of overlook. But if you watch the interactions with him it's the only deep part of the movie. If you want to have anything past a 3-foot shallow into the pool level, if you pay attention, like there's a general when they're doing all of their demonstrations and everything that's at the party with them. And he's like, oh yeah, we're just drop these people in behind enemy lines. They blow a whole bunch of people up. You drive a nuclear bomb right up the city street of Moscow and everything. Right. He didn't want any of that. He didn't care about any of that. He was genuinely trying to make something cool. At least that was my impression of the character.
They did say he used to be a scientist, right?
He did. He did
say, but he says, I'm not that anymore, right? He's left that behind.
Yeah. And I think that's the tragedy of his character, if you want to have tragedy in such a shallow film.
Well, there are other candidates for dicks in this movie, frankly. If you don't think he was a dick.
So the first one is, he's only in a few scenes, but Brian McNamara plays Frank. That's Stephanie's abusive ex-boyfriend. The first scene, he's trying to get her dog, who's 3-legged, and he's trying to put him in a little carrier that's got animal experimentation on the side of it. He's going to sell him, that dog's worth money. And then later on, he finds out about Johnny Five and there's a reward. So of course he's trying to make good on that. Yeah. He's a moderate dickhead in the film only because he's not there very often. But the main dickhead of the film is a man who in the 80s made a living out of playing dickheads in films. And that's G.W. Bailey, who played Captain Scroder, the chief of security for Nova. Now, G.W. Bailey was way more famous for being the asshole captain in the Police Academy films, except for the Police Academy 2. They replaced him with a different guy who just didn't do it as well, so they brought him back after that.
Gutenberg film, by the way, another film they were in together.
Film, and that's where they have that relationship, and that's why they played well off of each other in this movie, I think, because they had that history. And I tell you, I don't know if anybody in that time period played a better comedic asshole than G.W. Bailey. He's just so built for that role.
oh, so gung-ho, so company line, the army line. I giggled every time they said General Scroder. Didn't the character Ben one time call him General Scrotum or something? He had to correct him. He says it wrong. And I'm like, that's what I'm hearing every time I'm hearing it too, Ben. It's so, I can't think of another example of just so obviously naming a character to make you have no respect for him, to make him a joke, to make him a punchline. General Scroder. He had the little badge on his thing. I'm like, does it say that? It actually says Scroder right on his. Yeah. So that made me chuckle throughout the film. But that wasn't my favorite part of the film. When we get back from this break, we're going to each champion what was our favorite segment from Short Circuit. You don't want to miss this. Stick around.
IndyCar fans, it's time to start your engines. I'm Bruce Martin, host of Pit Pass Indy, the IndyCar podcast giving you an insider's view of the exciting world of the NTT IndyCar Series. Each week, I take you trackside with exclusive interviews from the biggest names in the sport, including champions like Alex Palou, Joseph Newgarden, Scott Dixon, Will Power, and other fan favorites like Pato O'Ward, Christian Lundgaard, and Kyle Kirkwood. Powered by Penske Truck Rental, Pit Pass Indy keeps you up to speed on every electrifying race. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Each episode of Gen X Grown Up has show notes loaded with links where you can learn more about our topics. And there's even more to see and hear over at GenXGrownUp.com.
A comedy adventure from the director of War Games. It was designed to do jobs no human would risk. But something unexpected has happened. Something wonderful.
Why don't you come on in my house?
Nice software.
Number 5 is alive. Ali Sheedy and Steve Gutenberg in Short Circuit, rated PG. Starts Friday at a theater near you.
As we often do when we're celebrating a 40-now-year-old movie, Short Circuit is. I just say it that way to make Mo feel, he feels a certain kind of way.
Stop saying
we
that.
like to, each of us champion, maybe it's an album, our favorite track, or in a film or series, our favorite episode or our favorite part of it. And so we each did select that. And I'm going to go first this time. And my favorite part of the film, there's nothing in it that jumps out at me like, this is the showpiece,
Yeah.
There's just a lot of little cute moments, and depending on how they strike you is kind of like what's your favorite. For me, you talked about the dickhead boyfriend, Frank, right? The part where he only shows up twice in the movie, once when he's trying to abduct the dog, and once when he's trying to go get the reward for turning in the robot, the $25,000. And when he shows up, a series of events happens, and he goes in and Johnny Five goes out. And when he comes back outside, Johnny Five has meticulously disassembled Frank's Pontiac Firebird. He even has the Chilton's manual there, so he can go through and make sure he knows every nut and bolt. And it's not like trashed. It's like laid out like it's a model ready to be put together. The shocks are lined up. The tires are stacked. Everything looks beautiful. And then there's like a little fight that goes on that's funny. And he turns out he can dodge bullets and all that fight. And so all of that is great to me. And plus, right after it is my favorite line of the movie. And it's said by Ben, where Gutenberg's character says, "What do you think about Stephanie?" He's like, "Oh, I think she's a virgin, or at least used to be."
Right.
I had to stop, laugh, rewind, and hear it again. I'd forgotten that was in there. I feel like other people have used that line as a movie quote, and I didn't know they were quoting this movie. I think it's so funny. So the whole section around disassembling Frank's car, the fight that ensues, and what follows right there, it's my favorite little, if I had to watch 5 minutes of the movie, that's the 5 minutes I'd watch. Mo, how about you? What's your favorite?
So I don't know if necessarily favorite, but one that stuck in my head the most was basically when Johnny Five, when he crushes the grasshopper and Ali Sheedy has to explain what happened.
Disassemble.
Exactly. And
reassemble.
Because up until then, he's like a child, right? And the scene was very much like you're explaining to a child what death is.
Right.
And that it doesn't come back. Like once you're dead, it's gone and it's over. And it's sort of made this movie seem a little bit more, a little darker, I guess, for a second there for this one scene when they started talking about it. But it was definitely something that people can relate to. I thought it was a very relatable scene because I think, especially if you're a parent, you had those moments with your kid where you have to explain things like that to them that you really don't want to, but it's important that they understand it.
Yeah, he makes that connection because I think they had already mentioned to him at that point that they might disassemble him, and he thought that was fine. He didn't care. And then he put the dot, he connected the dots. He's like, wait a minute, disassemble, cannot reassemble, death, gone. Well, I don't want that. Although it is hampered a little bit by the silly jumping robot that just looks so unnatural right before that because he's trying to be a grasshopper.
Right.
And that special effect was kind of weird.
That special effect was terrible.
Yeah.
I think that was stop motion.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
It may have been.
Yeah.
Or sped up or something. I don't know what they did. But
so John says there's no bad puppet movie. Apparently he doesn't like that part of puppeteering.
But you have a bad puppet scene.
I think that scene is critical to the movie because it's what informs his motivations of trying to run and hide from Nova throughout the rest of the film, and how his character and Stephanie's character relates to him. And you talked about the whole disassemble, reassemble, explaining to a child. There's another scene that kind of illustrates that a little bit too. When Gutenberg first comes and talks to Johnny Five for the very first time, he's like making fun of the way Johnny Five is speaking. And she's like, I think he speaks very well for a 4-day-old.
Yeah.
It's illustrating and driving home the point that this is a young, sentient child character in a devastatingly powerful body, right? All of us have had children, and all of us will remember a time, especially because we're men, when one of those children had those super strong legs and kicked you right in the nuts.
I was wondering where you're going with
just
that.
how powerful a dumb child can be in those moments, and that's what Johnny Five was.
Disassemble!
I think for me, my favorite scene, though, was probably the little Robot War Three Stooges scene when Gutenberg and Ali Sheedy are supposed to talk things out in the little restaurant, and Johnny Five is kind of off somewhere behind the restaurant, and Nova sends the other, number 1, 2, 3, and 4, although I think it was just 1, 2, and 3, but he sends them all into the woods to go, and Johnny Five he basically runs circles around them.
He handles
stops them all, pushes their little red button to turn them off as whatever precarious scenario he puts them in. And then with one little red button, somehow magically programs them to become the Three Stooges that you see later on in that scene.
That's the way computers work.
Apparently, He just, like, his little hands and fingers, like he's touching a circuit and then he's pressing a red button. He's just doing all it, and you see the little flashing lights on the little red circuit board. It's just funny to me. I like that it calls back to an earlier scene in the movie when he's sitting in front of the television watching the Stooges and imitating their voices. You see these kind of things in these coming of age fish out of water stories time and time again. I thought the movie got that part of the film. I thought it did that well.
Yeah, that was a funny segment and one that I enjoyed. It was very much like, these military weapon robots, I just made the biggest fools out of them, right? But it was a moment that was deserved. It was earned because we see him watching the Three Stooges and they're almost reenacting that exact scene that he watches, right?
Very close, yeah.
And we've also seen that he has super absorbed pop culture and commercials and movies. He quotes it all the time. So it would make sense. How do I make fools of these? Well, I have seen and imitated fools that I've seen in media that I've been quoting all along. So it doesn't feel like an out of left field unearned. It was like, that was a good way with good setup and good payoff to show, like you said, he reprogrammed them. He definitely handled them physically. And then he reprogrammed them and made them idiots in their own bodies, which was, done. Take care of more weapons that way. All right. Hey, when we get back, one more segment to go. We're going to talk about how this film, we'll talk about the legacy of this film. It has some sequels. It has some inspiration that is seeped into pop culture. We're going to walk through that right after this. If you're a diehard Gen X grown-up, you can pledge your support by clicking join on YouTube or by becoming a patron at GenXGrownUp.com/Patreon.
They thought they had the ultimate fighting machine.
Takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
Until Mother Nature steps in.
Hello, bozos.
Don't tell me its laser is still armed.
Number 5 alive.
No, the big guns want to fry the little guy.
Escape robot fights for his life. Film at 11.
I'm standing here beside myself.
But this robot's just having a blast.
Pretty good, huh?
Steve Gutenberg, Ali Sheedy, Short Circuit. Tonight at 8 on Channel 11, New York's movie station.
Like we often like to do, especially with these movies and records and stuff, we talk about like how it it lives on after its time. Like, what's its legacy and what does it come up with? So, John, why don't you kick us off on that?
Yeah. So the year after it came out in 86. No big surprise. A video game was made based on it in 1987. And it was not one that I could have played, though George could have played it. It came out for the ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64, and the Amstrad. And never having played it, I'm like, well, a lot of movie-based games are dumb. Let me go look and see. So I went to YouTube and I found some footage of it. And I'm happy to report that, just like you expected, it's dumb. It looks like Maniac Mansion kind of. You're Johnny Five, as you might imagine. You're just roaming around, opening lockers, looking for keys to get to the next level or whatever. It's not an action game or anything. In a movie that was actually pretty action filled with a lot of stunts and good stuff to see.
Sure.
This is a textbook layer of short circuit paint on an otherwise pedestrian game. But hey, if you're a big Johnny Five fan, you probably played it if you knew it existed. But that was in 87.
Yeah. Well, they have a success in Hollywood. What's the first thing they're going to do?
Money success.
Make a sequel. Make a sequel. And so they made a Short Circuit 2. They got back two of the main characters back. Not the biggest names, except, well, the robot. Directed by Kenneth Johnson. I never saw it. I went to look it up. Michael McKean was in it.
Oh, okay.
Which I was like, still not going to see it. But it's nice to know that he was in it. But yeah, and that movie did not do well. Again, it had the same budget. I think it had like a $15 million budget, and I don't think he even made that when it hit the theaters.
If it made $15, I'd be shocked. I mean, it was pretty rough.
It was very rough.
That was likely one that made more money on the legacy of Short Circuit in VHS rental than it made in the first place in theaters, I would bet you.
It's one that parents would have rented both of them in tandem for their kids to have over a weekend.
Yeah.
Right.
Not knowing that the second one was terrible. Arguably terrible. Yeah.
Yep. So inspiration. So here's something that isn't a direct connection. However, in 1999, a great animated film called The Iron Giant was released. Tremendous. And it shares a lot of the story points and inspiration from Short Circuit. Both are about a device built to be a weapon that suffers some sort of injury that makes it malfunction, develop awareness and sentience, determine it does not want to be a weapon, very childlike, trying to understand the world around it, and ultimately having an innocent friend who's involved in trying to help them explore the world. Very, very similar. And I remember when I saw The Iron Giant, it felt familiar. And yet I didn't make the connection then that it was very short-circuity. And I'm not saying Short Circuit is the first to invent this story, but they're the most memorable, and Iron Giant did it really, really, really well.
Yeah.
If you had to watch one or the other, I would say watch The Iron Giant, because it's kind of the same story, more heartfelt and just really an animated spectacle.
You know, another one that I feel like had some inspiration from this was Wall-E. Now, I think that the inspiration comes a lot in the character design. If you look at Wall-E's big eyes with the little flappy eyebrow things, the 3-tread track, the hands that are kind of like three
clampy
pieces of molded metal, clampy kind of things, the spindly arms. Even though he's obviously not as tall as Johnny Five, I think that character and some of his story points, his innocence, his aloneness in the world, because, his hunger to learn things. That's while he's always collecting the old things he finds in the trash. I just found that at least parts of Wall-E and Short Circuit just kind of, I don't know, they kind of paralleled each other just a little bit, not nearly to the degree the Iron Giant does. The Iron Giant might be like a scene for scene ripoff, but done way better. This was, I just felt like whoever did Wall-E at Pixar, I feel like they must have been fans of Short Circuit at some point.
Yeah.
Especially the character design and most especially the expressiveness of the head, right? With the far set eyes, very E.T. like, by the way, kind of far set eyes. And then like the little flaps or lenses or fans for eyebrows. And then the, what do they call that? The inside of a lens, whatever the concentric circle, like the James aperture. Yes, the opening and closing aperture, so he can squint a little bit. All those came from the puppet and the robot from a Short Circuit, and Wall-E took all the best parts of that to make him expressive. Because unlike Johnny Five, Wall-E doesn't even get to talk.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, he has everything's through expression. So yeah, I'd agree. Yeah. Definitely that design.
Now, here's the part that's going to shock fans of our podcast. The way we've been talking about this film. There's actually been a couple of attempts to remake this film in the modern 2000 era. So on April 4th, 2008, Variety reported that Dimension Films had acquired the rights to remake the original film. None of that went through. Everybody that was associated with the production ended up dropping out. But then 12 years later, November 13, 2020, it was announced that Spyglass Media Group is set to remake the film. Now, it's still in production. I don't know if it's going to move forward or not, because obviously we had a little bit of a problem in 2020. I don't know if you guys remember, but we were all kind of stuck at home. So that may have slowed the production down a little bit.
Yeah.
But this is one of those films that didn't need a sequel. Shouldn't have had a sequel. I don't know that it needs a remake, but if it gets a remake, I don't think we're going to get anything close to what we did. What I hope is that we get the depth that we should have gotten in the original film.
No, I think what's going to happen is that Johnny Five is going to become like, he's going to like murder people or something. You know, he's going to go berserk and
the dark version.
The dark version.
Like a Megan remake.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Johnny Five is out for blood, you know, or something.
You know, I remember hearing about sequel possibilities, or not sequel, remake possibilities, you know, in the 2000s. I didn't know about the 2020 one. I knew about the older one, but unlike a lot of remakes, this is one you said didn't need a sequel, didn't need to be remade. This is one of those that I'm not mad at a remake of, because it's not hallowed ground. It was a great story that wasn't executed as well as it probably could have. We know the director didn't get the people he wanted. We know they didn't have a huge budget. You know, we know what it did okay, but it could have been better. It's one of those that I'm not going to, if it gets a remake, they announce and see a trailer tomorrow, I'm not going to go, harumph, you're going to ruin my sacred short circuit. No, I'm going to go, oh, well, let's see how you do it, because the old one was fair. It's not like you're remaking Star Wars and you're like, you cannot possibly supersede it. You can easily supersede Short Circuit. You can screw it up a lot of ways. You can make it a horror, like Mo said, but there are plenty of ways to make it better, I think.
If I remember correctly, the original script was a little bit darker than what they actually did, right? It was like a more serious.
Yeah. Oh. It didn't get lighthearted until Ali Sheedy and Gutenberg got cast in the role. That's when they had to change everything.
Okay.
Because he's so likable, right? He can't do bad stuff. So
yeah. Well, and you know, Ali Sheedy, she had only done the one mildly dark role in The Breakfast Club, but she was just, you know, pop princess kind of stuff at that point. So.
It's like, you need a dark actor. Let's get Paul Rudd. You know, I mean, it's just a bad idea.
Do you know the man's work? Do you have any idea? Yeah. Not going to work. All right. So, hey, if you're working on this film, give us a call. Put us in the writer's room. We got lots of ways we can help you make it better. Give us a ring. GenXGrownUp is happy to help. And I was happy to walk through this now 40-year-old film with you guys.
Say it again.
One more time for Mo. I hope the fourth listeners enjoyed it as well. Before we leave you, I want to thank a couple of new Patreon supporters. Look, these are folks who listen to the show for free or watch us on YouTube or enjoy our website content, and that they get with no charge and decide they want to support the arts. They want to support the content, the work that we're doing to ensure that we can afford to keep doing it and bringing you regular quality stuff. Brian J. and Kurt K. did what so many have done before. They opened up their hearts and their wallets. They clicked on over to patreon.com/GenXGrownUp and set up a small recurring financial pledge that literally keeps the lights on. It pays to keep this service that we use to record the podcast active. It pays for all the different software we have to use to edit it, make those things happen. Brian and Kurt, thank you for joining this roster of amazing people. And by the way, you probably know, maybe it's why you signed up. As long as you're at that $5 level or above, you get an advertisement-free feed of this show you can listen to in any podcast application. You don't have to listen to all the ads because you're already supporting us. We don't need you to listen to them. So we love you for doing that. So Brian and Kurt, thank you once again. That is going to wrap it up for this Backtrack all about Short Circuit. Don't worry, we'll be back in 2 weeks with another Backtrack. Next week, of course, is the regular edition of our show. Until then, I am John. George, thank you so much for being here, man.
Yes, sir.
Mo, you know I appreciate you, sir.
Always fun, man.
Fourth listener, it's you all three appreciate most of all, though. We can't wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Take care, everybody.
No life, no fun. Don't you know that you're a grown-up?
GenXGrownUp is a member of the Evergreen Podcast family. Learn more at evergreenpodcasts.com.
No more watching shows till sunrise. Unacceptable for grown-ups. Your dinner cannot just be french fries. Basically, life sucks as a grown-up.
Had a short named Show Scan. Who's Trumble's Show Scan short? Blah, 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 blah.
No, the short was called Let's Go.
Well, Let's Go. That's right.
What's Showscan?
Showscan was a series, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right. Let me just say.
Just read it the way it is, and you'll be fine.
Okay.
Read what's on the card.
Damn
Come on.
I wrote this a certain way, actor. Okay.
In 2021, the wife and son of Alex Murdaugh, an attorney from a prominent South Carolina family, were found shot to death. The story captivated the nation. That's when we began the podcast Impact of Influence. In March of 2023, Alex Murdaugh was convicted of murdering his wife Maggie and their 22-year-old son Paul. The latest, Alex Murdaugh was granted a new trial by the South Carolina Supreme Court citing jury tampering. The case will be tried before the end of the year, and we will be on top of it. Get Impact of Influence wherever you get your favorite podcast.